everybody. Thanks for checking in. I'm Roger. This is the Ultimate Tribute Band Podcast. We're ready for another episode, so thanks for being here. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get to talking to these guys. I'm really excited for this because I actually know these guys in a roundabout way through a mutual friend who does some radio in San Diego. His name is Scott Kaplan. So I'm going to give you a shout-out right now, Scotty.
Hey, Scott.
So I heard them on Scott Kaplan's show in San Diego a few years back. And then my band got to be on Scott Kaplan's show. So it was just kind of cool. I was like, man, I want to talk to these guys whenever I get a chance. So I want to introduce Nikki and Brent. They're from the Fooz Fighters. They do a Foo Fighters tribute band, as you can probably figure out. You'll find them at foozfighters.com. Brent, Nikki, thanks for coming. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We're excited to be here.
Cool. So let's just dive right in, man. Give me kind of the background. I want to know a little bit about you guys and then how the whole Fooz Fighters thing came about. So give me some years, give me some time frames. Who's got the more exciting backstory here?
I was in a Stone Temple Pilot tribute band called Vaseline. We were mildly successful. Played mostly locally. San Diego, did a couple shows up in LA. Had a great group of musicians, and the band just kind of over time, sort of disbanded, and I still had a lot of energy for playing music and wanted to put a tribute band together. So the other guitar player in the Vaseline band and I got together and we said, what else could we do here? Well, let's first replace the singer who left for the Vaseline band and get this guy Nicky. And I know this guy, I've known him forever in San Diego. I think he'd be really good. So that's when
what it was.
He contacted you, and you.
The other guy, this is the wedding guy. Many years with that guitar player. So that's who I got the call from and asked me if I was interested. And of course I'd come down and check it out. I'm always going to come down and check it out.
Sure.
You never know. You might get blown away. So, but I originally learned like 5 STP, just brushed up on 5 STP songs.
Just to come in and audition.
But there was always this other Foo Fighters thing in the background. Yeah. And when I showed up at that first audition, I went straight to like, why not? Let's study the Foo Fighters thing. Let's try that. And that night we decided that we're going to go Foo Fighters.
So there was a little bit of thought that went into this. So the wedding guy and I had talked about, Stone Temple Pilots, and when you're starting a tribute band, you have to look, there's a marketing side of it. And I have a marketing background, and I'll get into more detail of what my background is. But I started looking at, how was this Stone Temple Pilot tribute band? What kind of crowd were we playing with? What kind of gigs were we getting? What were we being paid? And we were around for about 4 years. And so after it disbanded, I sort of said, well, we could keep this going, or maybe we should look at a different product, because I'm a marketing guy, product. Like, what are we marketing here? And I noticed that Stone Temple Pilots, great band. I love them. Guys
great
are
band.
Historic.
Nothing against STP.
But the draw of our shows, I would probably call it, a third level kind of a thing, mostly dudes up front, not a lot of women at the shows.
What?
And, it's sort of serious rock, heavy rock. So I started brainstorming about what other bands could we tribute. We're all talented musicians. We can play anything. And we started exploring bands. We looked at a lot, and Foo Fighters came up because we said, what a great band. I mean, I'm an older guy, but they are in my opinion, they are a throwback 70s, 80s band. And if they were back in the 70s, 80s, they would have been, Led Zeppelin or, all these bands. They're that good. They're that successful. They're timeless. And I searched the internet and I could only find maybe 1 or 2 Foo Fighter tribute bands. So I said, why don't we try that? So when Nick came in.
That's what got me. The Foo Fighters never even. First of all, I have to say that I was absolutely anti-tribute. I was no way.
Here we go. No
way that I was ever going to sing for a tribute band, because you know, when it's, I don't want to say
Yeah,
when
but
it
you've
started
been in
out.
cover bands, I assume. Yes?
Yeah, and I've been
Okay.
in a tribute band as well. But
So what was your reason for having kind of a negative?
and I've had original band, you know, I have
Sure.
albums, I've wrote songs, you know, I mean, it's a whole, it's been this long time, but the tribute band kind of came along and it got really popular, you know, it's kind of like karaoke, just whoa, you know, but I mean, to me, a lot of it was real cheesy. I mean, I noticed you're not wearing a wig. I'm not either.
No, I had to grow this out, man. I usually have short hair.
You know what I'm saying? And at
I
one
wish I
point,
picked Phil Collins.
when we started, I was just starting the yacht rock band, so I started to do this like
Yeah, there you
70s
go, sure.
summer
His
thing.
hair was about
Yeah, it was way
right
up here.
there,
These guys tried to
maybe.
get me to wear a wig, and I was like, you ain't wearing
Not
a wig.
wearing a wig.
Okay, first of all, I'm not down with this tribute thing, you know, and I don't
The
want
cheese factor is
because
an
that's what I
absolute
see when
thing
I
there.
see when I think
Totally.
of tribute band. I think of just this big giant glob of cheese, and I'm
Wi-
not
yeah,
going to be that.
Party store wigs and polyester Halloween costumes.
That you just
and-
drug out of your
Yep.
trunk from
I
the
gotcha.
last gig. It's got, you know, cigarette
Yep.
butts melted into it, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing that.
Right.
And so, you know, I was just against it for a while. But what happened was it became so popular that I eventually had to cave. I had to cave in to the tribute band because what else was I going to do? I'd still be in a bar in Poway, you know.
So there was a lot of just kind of pragmatic decisions made here.
A lot of things kind of came
just,
together.
Just nuts and bolts kind of what band is maybe more marketable than STP, what works, and then you even kind of came around, I guess is kind of the way to say it, of, you know, there's a market. These guys are making some pretty decent money over a bar band. Maybe I should consider it. Is
It
kinda
was
where you came
kind
from.
of like a ding when I heard Foo Fighters. I was like,
Now, did
Wait
you,
a minute.
You kind of morphed into this look, so this wasn't your look.
No.
I mean, had you been tributes to any other artists before, or covers with any other artists?
Yeah, it's funny. I did, you know, reluctantly. I was asked. I got a phone call. Same thing. Just sitting in a restaurant one day, I got a phone call from a guy who I'd been in a band with before. Very successful cover band in San Diego, making tons of money and doing the higher end Rancho Santa Fe circuit. We just got lucky. We were on a roll for about 10 years and we made a ton of money. And then it kind of died out. You know, everything fizzles out after a while unless you reinvent it. So he gives me a call. He says, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking. A Springsteen tribute." And I'm just like, whoa, out of left field. And I've just, you know, Springsteen, I found out after I studied his music how amazing he is, but I didn't grow up as a fan. So it was a little like, what? Wait a minute. You know, I'll try it. Let's try it. And I studied the music. I learned a million hours of lyrics. And we were I did 2 sold out shows a night in San Diego. It was over $5,000, 2 sold out shows. It was just tough to
Murder in
do.
your voice, if nothing
It
else.
was pretty bad. It's pretty bad. 2 90-minute shows, and you get to go backstage for half an hour and just wipe all the sweat off, fix your hair, and run back out there and do another 90-minute show. Not an easy gig, but you know, I just morphed into that. But it still didn't strike me as when I heard Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters just never really entered my mind as a tribute band. And then when it did, I instantly thought that there's not a lot of people doing a tribute to the Foo Fighters.
I got to be honest. I mean, I know, probably like a lot of folks, I know a handful of the songs. I know Learn to Fly.
Yep.
Monkey Wrench.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I knew kind of the hits, and I was probably a casual fan. So before this podcast, I kind of did a deep dive into Foo Fighters and really listened to a lot of their stuff. And I probably listened to 30 plus songs in the last week. And I got to be honest, you're 100% right. They have a lot of different sounds in just those songs. There's hardcore rock. There's very melodic stuff. There's stuff that sounded Sgt. Peppery almost, very stylistic.
Yeah.
It's nothing you would have expected from a guy who used to be the drummer for Nirvana. A couple of songs sound a little Nirvana-y.
Yes.
But he created his own sound. He created his own vibe. And you're 100% right. So many of their songs could have been hits in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s or right now. His influences were clear. He got a lot of influence from a lot of different styles. Plus, Dave Grohl is a great interview.
He's just good.
He's a
Coolest-
good guy.
He's
man.
good.
Coolest guy in
He's a
rock.
guy I would
Coolest
just
guy.
want to hang out with.
The whole
So-
band is good. It's just good music.
So did you have to kind of work your whole look into this whole thing? Is
that
is
happened,
a
but
whole
you know,
process?
another thing about what you just said is that same for me. Even though Foo Fighters clicked and dinged, and I was like, "Whoa, that could work." I didn't know the music.
Yeah.
I knew the 5 songs. You know, I knew My Hero.
My Hero, that was the one I was trying to think of.
I knew the exact same songs: Monkey Wrench, My Hero, Learn to Fly. The ones you hear on the radio are the only songs I knew. I didn't study the music. I wasn't like this diehard Foo Fighters fan. I just knew that if you made a good Foo Fighters tribute, it could work.
Yeah.
So
And you picked a band that's currently gigging. This isn't a retired band. This isn't a band that everybody's passed away. This isn't, the Beatles. It isn't Elvis. It isn't, whatever. So a lot of folks kind of, either don't see why you would do a band that's currently gigging, or do you ever run into that kind of,
Absolutely.
question or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's people that have a misunderstanding on tribute bands. Like, why are you tributing a band that's still active? And, it's one thing if it's Elvis or if
Right.
it's, bands that aren't touring. And we get a lot of, we don't get a lot of it, but we get, certain people that chime in like, come on, this tribute thing, how can you do that? So there's sort of a misunderstanding, I think, with tribute bands, as to why we're really doing this. We're not trying to be Foo Fighters. We don't think we're Foo Fighters. We like the music. We're musicians, and we want to build an experience that we can take to people and have someone get to the front row at our shows that would have to spend $400, $500, $600 at the real show,
Right.
and they probably wouldn't even get as close as they can for our show. So, we love to, bring experiences to people that wouldn't necessarily in areas. I mean, we've traveled all over the country and to other countries to do this, and it's emotional for us when you're playing and you look out into the crowd and you see people literally just pouring with emotions. You're playing songs that they have never been able to afford to see in their lives, and they're hearing it live. And that's what we get off on. That's it. It's not about the money. It's not about anything else. We don't have egos. We don't think we're
definitely
the Foo
not
Fighters.
about the money.
Yeah, it's not about the
Because
money.
Not a lot of it there.
No.
It's a little about the money, meaning we'd like there to be more
Yeah,
of it.
that's what I
yes,
meant.
But,
yes,
yeah,
we
no,
would.
I got you.
Yes, we would.
It's a lot of effort for very little pay. Let's put it that way.
So, so it's basically a bit of a labor of love, and the sense is, I would imagine, because you kind of circled around and came up with Foo Fighters, part of it is we do this stuff really well. We actually kind of nail this stuff. I mean, I think it's if you guys check these guys out online, you're going to see that Fooz Fighters are kind of considered one of the preeminent, if not the best, Foo Fighters tribute out there. So I really encourage you guys to check it out for sure. So why do you think you guys have kind of reached a level maybe higher than either other guys haven't quite got to or don't even realize that is there? What is it about you guys that has put you kind of in that realm?
I think it helps to have someone that looks like Nick, and
That took a little while. These
yeah,
were. This was $500.
That's commitment,
I don't
ladies and
think I
gentlemen.
ever got reimbursed for that $500. By the way,
it's coming.
we gotta write this off or something. The feathers, yeah, but
You guys kind of just you play it with some love and some passion, and you're making a serious effort to kind of pull off the look and the style.
yeah,
So if somebody goes to a show, they're going to feel like they kind of went to a Foo Fighters concert.
I am
that
not
kind of
the
goal?
type of guy that's gonna get up on stage and suck. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
I used to do that, but the money wasn't good for that either.
If there was ever a point where I go, oh my God, I suck. That's my last show. In that, doing whatever.
You have a standard you hold yourself to.
Absolutely, and it's first of all, I ain't wearing a wig, but that's we already mentioned that. But if you've got good musicians, and we started out with really good musicians, we've got better ones now, And I think that's kind of like the progress of a band. You start out, it's good. You make it better. You get good enough to get out and start getting some gigs. You see the reaction from the crowds. One of my big things is, dude, I don't think I'm a rock star. My head isn't swelled up from being in a tribute band. I go out after the shows, and I love to go out after the show, and that's our latest. It's morphed over the years, but it used to be come out and just say hi to people. Now I come right off the stage. I get right out there with you right when the show ends, and I make my way all the way across the stage because I want to and people are so nice. They're just like, oh.
Super appreciative audiences.
Yeah,
for
they
tribute
do.
bands,
They
aren't
love it. They're crying. They want to hug you. They just want to. I think the best part of the show for me, there's a thing that happens when you're on stage, and I know you know what it is. When you're on stage and you look out there and you see people enjoying what you're doing, and if you don't see that, there's a problem, obviously. Yeah. So when I look out there and I see people just, they're singing the lyrics, hopefully, because that's always amazing. And then you get, obviously you're getting the energy from them, and that's what, makes you go forward. But when it's all over, I think the best part of the show for me is afterwards when you're out there. And I used to just run off stage and hide, especially if I did a good show. I'd be like, oh, God, that was such a good show. And I'd run off stage. And I'm like, okay, don't fuck it up. Just go hide and don't say anything because you might say something stupid,
Right.
But then I was like, you know what? People, wait a minute, they're like, what? Wait,
they want to see you. They want to say thank you.
They know it's not Dave Grohl. Well, we've had a few times where people were that one lady at Rock and Roll Pizza. She was like, Dave, you saved my life, Dave. I love you, Dave. And I was like, does she know I'm not Dave? No. I don't think she knew I wasn't Dave.
I had a lady in Mississippi. I gave up.
You know what?
I gave up telling her I'm not Huey Lewis. She insisted I was Huey Lewis.
I could see that because
and I kind of went
him.
and I went. Thank you. I mean, I really did. I'm really not. We're just pretending. I'm not. She goes, I have all of your music. I've done it. I'm like, all right.
I've had that happen. I've had it happen about 10 times. Yeah. Where they're caught up in the moment. And I think that's the best part of the show for me afterwards. Sometimes it takes 2 hours to take every picture, selfie that people want to take. And I make my way across. I don't deny anyone. I'll hang out there as long as you guys want. If you want a picture with me, with Nick, Nikki, I'm more than willing to give it.
As a tribute band, that's great because they post it on, he always yells out at our shows, post on, our Facebook, Instagram, and sure enough, boom, 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 boom. So there's a whole marketing side to tribute bands that, I think if you look at our 6-year journey, you really have to pick the right band to tribute, number one. Surround yourself with the best musicians and people that you can possibly get that are committed to playing the music, not just playing the music. It's note for note. And if you could come to our rehearsals, they're not fun. We're not like drinking beers and we're like
Sweet Home Alabama. Go ahead. All right.
You've been in the 12-member band. It's hard to get 3 people on the same page. Yeah. 5 people's a little tougher.
We're 7. Rock, yeah, we're 7. Yours is the Yacht Rock's got to be 9 plus. 10 plus.
It's at least 10 people. Yeah. A whole horn section. It's hard to get all those people on the same page. Yep. And so there's a lot of work that goes into this. It's getting it right, getting it to sound good. Guitar players are always too loud. They want to turn their guitars up so loud you can't hear anything.
It's clearly in their DNA. There's just nothing you can do about it.
I'm sorry.
All I want to hear is me. Well, I want to hear the bass player, but
I think this is really touching on kind of why you guys are considered one of the premier Foo Fighters. Because there's the running gag on this show is going to be the Journey tribute. There's a zillion Journey tributes are like Starbucks. Mm-hmm. Every town has a dozen.
God, you wouldn't. That'd be hard.
And you remember the running gag for the frontmen and singers is it's really hard to sing Steve Perry.
That's
Don't make me sing Steve Perry or Rush or AC/DC. I ain't
How
doing it.
How can there be so many Journey tributes when it's so hard to sing Journey?
There's a lot of dudes that can sing Steve Perry.
Wow.
Well, here's the thing: is there's a lot of dudes that can't. And so there's a handful that are premier and elite, and you guys are one of them. And it sounds like it's because you put that work in. You You fine-tune, you try to get the songs nailed. You're clearly going for getting the look nailed. So you're really taking it to a level that I think a lot of bands either can't because they just don't happen to find a guy that can pull off the look, or they just don't have the chops to pull off the sound. But they gig, so they get some shots here and there, get some gigs. So I think having said that, I think it's a perfect opportunity to take a look at you guys in action. So we're going to take a look at a video. Ladies and gentlemen, check them out. FoozFighters.com is where you're going to find them. Let's check out a video. This is their promo, right? You guys put a promo together. So this is the promo video. A little taste of a lot of Fooz Fighters in one big chunk here. So check it out. That is the Fooz Fighters. You're going to check them out at foozfighters.com. You'll find them at Fooz Fighters Band is on Facebook.
Yep.
And then Instagram and Twitter is Fooz Fighters.
Fooz Fighters.
Got it.
Yep.
So we'll make sure that's all on the screen so you can check them out. So check them out when you get a chance. They're San Diego based. You got the Padres jersey. I'm Brent.
Go Padres!
I'm wearing Slam Diego. Scott Kaplan, we love you. Padres, we love you. This is going to be a great year for you guys. Yeah. So
Scott's the best.
little love for Scott Kaplan, buddy, and Kaplan and crew. Check him out on San Diego Radio. And so I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I want to talk a little bit about. Let's talk about gigs, best moments, worst moments you've had kind of on stage, if anything jumps out at you in that kind of way.
Wow, we could go for a
well,
couple
the internet
hours
is
on
unlimited, so go as long as you want.
So, there's one, and I know you've probably got one or two. There's one that sticks out. It's Atlantic City. I think we mentioned that earlier when we were talking. So this has probably happened to a number of bands. I mean, I flub lines here and there. Everybody flubs a line.
Absolutely.
At the Whiskey, the opening line of like one of the All My Life, and I hit the wrong line. That was bad because everybody just instantly went, "Arr!" Everybody in the crowd just went.
Yeah, but Nick, so you gotta explain. So we were invited to play at
Atlantic City was way worse.
Yeah, so up at the Whiskey, which is every musician's dream to play, right? We were invited, and I felt just amazed that we were invited. But we got invited from a sound guy.
Tuesday night too. It was
to play the Dave Grohl tribute night up at the Whiskey, and they had 50 musicians that came in, but we were the only Foo Fighters tribute band. The rest were just great musicians covering
Gotcha.
Dave Grohl's bands throughout history. So there's a little bit of pressure on us. So Nick and I drove up, and we went to the Rainbow, because we had to go by see if Lenny was there. And
went there and had a big burger or something. It was good.
So we're walking down the street to the whiskey before our show, and this is hilarious. But this car pulls up, and these three girls get out, and they run up to him. Dave! Oh my God! And we didn't even have time to say anything. They were like, "I love you! Oh my God! I can't believe it! I'm going to tell my friends!" And they're taking pictures, and so that was our entrance in there. So
that's happened a couple times. At NAMM, it happened a couple times.
Yes. So
a sweet little kid was walking behind me for a couple blocks, and he's like, "Dad, I know that's him." And the dad finally said, "Excuse me, are you him?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not him, but
I'm in a.
But I play him on TV.
But I play him on TV, exactly. And your kid is super cool." And I think we gave him some pics or something. Whatever I had in my pocket, I had some swag to give him. But
yeah.
So beyond flubbing lines on stage, which I do from time to time, it
the
just
real
happens.
guys do that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it happens. Yeah.
Yes.
We had a moment. I think Atlantic City was pretty early in our career, and I was amazed. I think it was our first year. Mm-hmm. He says we're flying to Atlantic City in February.
Nice.
Not a good time to go to Atlantic City. It was freezing. But we had I think it might have even been like My Hero or Times Like These. The song starts. It starts to train wreck. Something's happening, and I'm like, anyways, the song continues to train wreck to a point where our former guitar player, who is no longer
just stopped.
No, he did the wave. He turned around and just went,
"Stop!" You just pulled the ripcord, man.
Yeah, and I was like, no, because, Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl. I'm out front. I'm Dave Grohl. The rest of the Foo Fighters just blend into the stage. They're just like they're not even there. I'm out there with these white lights in my face. This guy does a halt. The whole band comes to a grinding halt. This thing's been going for a good minute, or 90 seconds. And I'm just like, oh my God.
What do we do now? Do
we
start over?
Yeah. And, granted, if they couldn't recover from the train wreck, then, I don't know what you do, but it was brutal. It was,
wow.
It was.
What kind of reaction? And did you just kind of say, "Hey, that's jazz, ladies and gentlemen"? It's our experimental.
Yeah. And now for
freeform
something completely different. But we were young, we were still new at the time. And, that's one of the things you go, okay, let's never do that again.
So what about a big highlight? Something that you're like, man, that was something, either a venue, a crowd,
God, there's been
a
so
moment.
many of those too.
Like, give me kind of a crowd. Like, have you done one you went, I think that's the biggest crowd we've been in front of.
Santa Clarita was amazing. Unfortunately, he wasn't at that gig. But man, when I have pictures,
we can show you a picture of this.
Where you literally cannot see the end of the crowd from the stage. It just goes forever.
It's like an outdoor amphitheater kind of thing.
Yeah,
outdoor,
it's in a park,
lawn, in a park.
Yeah. And they were. I saw
the pictures. Yeah,
these guys were Foo Fighters. That town, Santa Clarita, is a Foo Fighter town. They love Foo Fighters because, when we showed up early in the day, they already had all their, easy ups all set up. And
they staked their claim for their spot.
And it just went forever. And then that was nothing compared to what actually showed up. But these people were up front, just screaming their heads off, knew all the words, right from the very first note that we hit, all the way to the end. And I think we even had to extend our encore. They were not having it. They were not having a show over. They were like,
done.
No,
you're not going anywhere.
And then, after the show, I jumped into the crowd and made my way across, and it was a long night. Let's put it that way, because those people were very happy to hear the Foo Fighters tribute. Good gig for me. That's one of my highlights, but there's many.
Well, there's many, but you never know what you're getting with gigs. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this. You I always try to project what I think it's going to be like, but then you get there and it's nothing like
Yeah,
it. How
that's
many times
true.
we've
Whenever
talked
we
about
think there's
this.
going to be this huge stage, we wind up and there's a, it's a couple crates on a piece of plywood, and then, sometimes it's the opposite.
Yeah, you come in thinking the show might be flat, it's not going to work, the crowd's not going to be into it,
And
then
then all
it's
of a
a
sudden
great
it's
show,
massive.
and then when you think it's just going to be off the hook, you go, man, that was pretty flat.
Yeah.
And we kind of kicked ass, and they just really weren't fully into that, and
That happens.
It happens once in a while.
It happens, but you got to be professional, and you've got to show up for every fan. Even if there's 10 people in the crowd, you've got to rock those people.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the nuts and bolts then of stuff, like set lists and things like that. So, when you're doing a specific artist, you obviously have these are always going to be every show, no matter how long or short it is. There's no not putting this in. But in terms of what a casual fan is going to know, you've got to play the 3, 4, 5 songs. So how do you round out the set? Do you get your 90 minutes? And how do you kind of put the thought together into how you build your show?
We've worked with that. We started out and we've experimented.
It's been kind of a fine-tuning process.
Yeah, well, we always try to end with Monkey Wrench and Everlong because it's in drop D. So that's an issue in tuning on stage where everybody kind of, we have to, what we would usually do is get to a point, maybe Best of You, and now we do like this extended version with a really killer guitar solo, just how Foo Fighters do it live. And then kind of like into this big finale that's almost like the show is ending, and then comes down, and then gives these guys a chance while everybody's kind of cheering to drop D tune into the last 2 songs, which is as an encore.
Right.
But we've experimented. We've moved it around. I went through a phase where just recently, before the shutdown, of opening the show with Monkey Wrench. That song is just like
hit him, just hit him,
just smack him in the face, and it worked. It worked. It created too much stress on the tuning thing, because I would just come out and be like, "Are you guys ready? Are you fucking ready?" Right into Monkey Wrench, and it just, people are just like, "Whoa, what's happening?" And it worked. But to come out of that was the problem. Where do you go from there?
You hit such a high that it was
Yeah.
almost like that was a finale, and now you got a show to do.
Yeah, and then you kind of like, okay, now what? When it ended.
We watch a lot of live footage from the Foo Fighters. And
Do you kind of create maybe hybrid-y versions? Like,
Absolutely.
maybe they know the album, but there's people that only kind of know the concerts or want to see the live version, so you'll extend some stuff.
We stick mostly to the studio versions of the songs, but we throw in, like on Best of You, we throw in this amazing lead that they do live, where he just tears off into this lead and it starts building, and it keeps building and building and building right to the "I've got another confession," and it goes over well. But
if you did everything, how long would your show be if you did every song that you do, not that they do?
Well, we've done 3-hour shows before, which I feel sorry for this guy.
Yeah,
I can play guitar for 5 hours.
What do you prefer as an act when people look to book you and they say, okay, so what do you kind of say? Well, we're 90 minutes is our show, or 2 hours is our show, or
I love a 1-hour set.
Well,
I think
sure.
a 90-minute show is our show.
Yeah.
2 hours is, a bit much for a tribute,
I think it's a lot for a live concert.
I was going to
kind
say
of concept.
Yeah.
I mean, the real artist doesn't give you unless you're Springsteen. You're not going to get 2 hours.
Do the
generally
Foo Fighters
out of a
do 2-hour shows? I don't know that they do.
Foo Fighters do 3-hour shows. I hate to. Yeah, they do. Yeah, but
Dave,
you're committed now, Nikki.
yeah, exactly. No, but
So an hour show, hit them.
Hour's my favorite because you can just come out and blast them with the 12
hits.
songs
And
that
everyone knows every song.
That's my favorite thing to do, and I like the middle slot. If you're playing with other bands, you get a warm-up guy. We come out and crush the middle set, and then the closers come on, and man, that's my greatest gig. But I think in reality, a 90-minute show is gonna be what fans who, if they're buying tickets, if you're doing a show where people are paying to get in, they want 90, and they're specifically paying for Foo Fighters. They want 90 minutes. They want to hear those ones that wouldn't be in that 1-hour set. But we also do the covers too. We've experimented with the covers. The Rick Astley is my favorite.
Oh,
Never gonna give it
I've
up.
seen them do
Seen
that.
that one?
They've done
Yeah.
that. Didn't he come on stage in one of the
Yeah.
YouTube videos or something?
Fabulous. Brought the crowd down. I mean, it was.
Yeah, we do that. We do the Rick Astley song. I just love it.
I think it's fun. I think it's cool because a fan checks out their YouTube stuff. They check out all the bootleg stuff, and if you could throw them little nuggets here and there, they kind of go, "Yeah, you did that song too. That's pretty cool."
And Rick Astley is amazing. So if you hear Dave talk about him when he brings him out, the guy he's amazing.
Who doesn't like Rick? I mean, if you don't like Rick
Right?
Astley, you're just kind of committed to not liking some stuff.
You're just a hater.
Yeah, it is. He's just kind of a hater, man. The dude's,
But it's what Foo Fighters do. So we try to do. We never do the same thing. I think every few
It's
months
different.
we're doing something different, throwing something different in there. Because if you just keep pumping out the same 90-minute set, come on, you know as well as we do. That's going to
Especially when we're playing locally in San Diego. I mean, we play the belly up.
If
couple
you have some
times a year.
regular gigs semi-regularly, then yeah, you've got to freshen it up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to do it because otherwise you never want your fans going, oh, they're playing the same set over and over.
Have you had a chance to meet any of the real guys? Have you heard from them? Do they know of you? What's the story?
They know of us. For
Yeah?
sure. They had our PR guy had to call us one time and shut us down at Rock and Roll Pizza because that's Simi Valley where I think some of them are from. And somebody's promoting something got promoted that the Foo Fighters were going to show up at this. They're notorious for showing up at Rock and Roll Pizza and doing sets, and we were playing there. So there was someone threw something in the mix that the Foo Fighters were going to be there, and it wasn't us, but we got a call from their guy saying, "Hey, knock that off. There's that's
Wow.
You can't do that."
Well, it was actually the fundraiser for the Foo Fighters' biggest fundraiser called Love, Hope, Strength Foundation. We got a call from
their manager or
the
something.
guy from England, Ra Osegna, the
Yeah,
England guy, and he said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in playing this, thing for the Foo Fighters Foundation in Simi Valley?"
Oh God, that was
Where
a
is
long
it?
drive.
They go, it's at the Rock and Roll Pizza, and I kind of got on there. And a year before, the Foo Fighters had played there, so we're on the same stage as the Foo Fighters. And so I called the guys and I said, "We are all over this. There's no way we're not doing this show. It's a pizza place." So on the way to the show, my phone rings, and I had been marketing the show. Fooz Fighters, Simi Valley, Rock and Roll Pizza. I may have posted a couple pictures of
Somehow
Fooz
it got
Fighters.
Right.
I get this
Yeah,
call,
gotcha.
and it's like, "Brent, this is so and so. I manage the Foo Fighters, and you need to take this stuff off your social media sites because we have all these people calling us and showing up down there." And I'm like, "I am sorry, I did not intend to do that." He goes, "Not your fault. No harm, no foul. But
They're
please."
fine with the band, though. They're not one of the ones that,
oddly-
there's not as many as people think. Most bands are kind of okay with it. They don't really have an issue with it.
Yeah,
Very few
They
have a
don't have
problem.
an issue. No.
Nice.
No.
Yeah.
But that was just a little too close to what they do.
Yeah.
Basically, gig venue-wise, and
Yes.
it was too confusing.
So
it was
the
creating confusion.
The best
Yeah.
story, I'll let
That's fair.
Nick tell it. You tell it about Taylor's sister.
Taylor's sister Heather, who is an absolute knockout, by the way. Hi, Heather.
We love you, Heather.
Yeah. My daughter's caretaker when she was growing up, Valerie is her name. Somehow I was informed that her sister's friend was Heather, and Heather Hawkins, and she goes, "Oh, did you know that my sister is friends with Heather Hawkins, who's Taylor's sister?" And I was like, "Whoa!" And it's so weird because she grew up in Scripps Ranch. I think they may have both lived there for a while in Scripps Ranch.
And you were doing a gig. and
Yeah,
she
this
came
is
up.
a funny story, man. And I knew of Heather, and I just knew that we were in. I lived in Mira Mesa, which is right next to Scripps Ranch. I was doing a yacht rock gig. I'm dressed in a white with a blazer. I got the captain's hat on. I'm in this backyard, and I'm singing.
I got this picture, by the way. We
Yeah,
gotta show the
I'm
picture.
killing it. I'm I'm rocking some Baby Come Back or something cool. Steal Away or something. And it was a great party. Backyard parties are fun. And we're breaking down after the set, and I'm in my captain's outfit, and this very attractive woman comes up to me and says, "You know something? You look a lot like Dave Grohl." And I looked at her and I was like, "Well, that's funny because I've been trying to look like Dave Grohl lately because I'm doing the yacht rock band, but I've just gotten in the Fooz Fighters band."
Your tattoo.
And I'm morphing into Dave Grohl. I was morphing out of 70s soft rock guy into Dave Grohl. So I was getting there. I had the hair was about this length. She comes up to me and it just clicked, and I was like, "I know who you are." As soon as it clicked to me, I told her, "Yeah, I've been trying to look like Dave Grohl." And then I looked at her and I go, "Oh, I know who you are. You're Heather. You're Taylor's sister." And she's like, "Yeah," and it actually sparked a really cool relationship with her. Because she befriended the band. She came to our gigs.
Came to our show at House of Blues.
Yeah.
She had brought...
I have this most amazing picture of her posing with us, and she's so rad. She's just out there going, yeah!
Brought drumsticks
she
signed
brought me
by
a signed
Taylor.
pair of drumsticks signed by Taylor, and I still have them. I have a little shrine of all the cool stuff that I've gotten over the years, but those are definitely high on my list of cool things.
Yeah, and then we've met Chris Shiflett, the guitar player for Foo Fighters, 3 or 4 times.
Signed your guitar, I think.
Yeah, so my main guitar that I play is signed by him, and it's actually his signature model from Fender. And he had a gig at the Casbah in San Diego with his sort of country band. He's really into country rock. And I heard he was playing down there, so I just, on a whim, went down there on like a Wednesday night, walked in, and I had his signature guitar, which I'd been playing with the Foo Fighters. And I walked in, saw him. There's hardly any people there. Walked right up to him and talked to him for 15 minutes. Couldn't have been nicer. And I said, so Chris, what should I do? This is right off the Fender factory. What can I do to this to make it sound like, do you mod it? And he goes, yes. You want to put the 59 in the bridge, and you want to put he told me what humbuckers to put in, change out the tuners, blah, blah, blah. And I said, "Oh, that's so nice of you, Chris. Would you mind signing?" So sure, he flips it over, signs it. So yeah,
that's awesome.
It's cool. Yeah. I mean,
That's an actual member there. That definitely that outweighs the.
Yeah, it's great when
Taylor's sister.
you've kind of got the support of even the real band, where they just kind of, we know that this is an industry. We know people are out there. I've mentioned this probably in some other shows, but when people kind of say, "Well, why are you tributing a band that's gigging right now?" And it's kind of like, well, we're not stealing. Nobody's taking gigs from the Foo Fighters. If they can afford us, they aren't booking the Foo Fighters, and if they can afford the Foo Fighters, they aren't booking us.
I think it helps promote them as well.
It helps. It just gets the music out.
Do you know something that really struck me as odd? When I said the bell went off or the light went off when the Foo Fighters tribute was presented to me, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's great." Do you realize how many people have never heard of them?
Right.
Never. And I mean, everywhere I go, people are like, "Who's that?" Mainstream, anywhere, doesn't matter what age. I mean, obviously, older people may not have ever heard of them, but people that you would think, people from the 90s, people who the 90s was their time, have no idea who the Foo Fighters are. And that has always struck me as so odd, because they were so, they've always been so popular and so mainstream and, so good. But to this day, I've still I'll tell people I'm in a Foo Fighters tribute. They're like, "What's that?" They're like, "Gesundheit."
I think it's the era we live in. It's rock is dead, which I don't believe, but I do think there's some of that going on.
There's just so many other things going on that people are focused, and people are in their own worlds. But to not know who the Foo Fighters are is beyond me. And
well, I would imagine that would come at shows, maybe like the Santa Clarita type shows, the outdoor festivals, concerts, where people they come week after week to all the shows. So that week happened to be a Foo Fooz Fighters. I keep wanting to say the other name.
That's why we picked the name.
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
hard to, yeah.
Like, you probably must get some people going, hey, man, I really didn't even know any of this music. You guys are great.
Always, yeah, all the time, yeah.
I think that, you know, one of the things that makes that I like about the Foo Fighters, and you know, you can say this about some of the tribute bands we play with, but the music is uplifting. The lyrics are positive. They're not singing about death and murder and blah blah blah. And you know what? In this day and age, right now, we all need positives, right? There's not a lot of positives in the world,
for sure.
And coming out of this pandemic, I mean, a lot of the promoters I've been talking to, I mean, we have what, 8 shows?
We got some good shows booked. We're going all over the country coming up here this summer, which is going to be fun.
So you know, guys know we're we try not to get too much on the pandemic because we're never sure when these shows are going to really be airing. But we're still kind of coming out of the pandemic. But it does look like things have kind of started opening back up. So what happened with you guys during that whole downtime? What did you do? Any retooling? Did you make changes? Did you do anything or?
It was
just wait
devastating to us because of the way it happened. Like
you were very much on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it happened right in the beginning of the year, and the year was booked. I mean, we had booked 25 shows all over the nation, and they were really good. That's like this. As the years have gone through since we started, this was going to be our best year. The shows get better one year, they get a little bit better the next year, they get a little bit better, and this was the year that they were the best. They were the good ones, man. The ones that I'm excited to. I mean, I'm excited for every show, but when you're playing for a large crowd, I like to play in front of a crowd, you know. I mean, I need that energy to get me going. And this was the year, you know, 2020 was it. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, it got snipped, you know.
We had a show up at the March Air Force Base at their air show.
I was going to get to sing the national anthem.
There were going to be 10,000, I'm not exaggerating, 10,000 people there. We were the only band, and they were putting our stage on the back of a C-19 transport plane. Opened, they sent me this mock of the thing. They said, send your stage plot.
I was bummed.
I mean,
so bummed.
Good news is they're going to reschedule that show, not this year, but next year in 2022.
I've always wanted to sing the national anthem. I practiced it. I had vocal coach at the time.
They asked
we found
Nick
the right
to sing
key,
the national anthem,
and I was going to get a flyby
flyby.
when I hit the Rockets red glare. Oh, dude, I was so stoked, and I was bummed. I was actually going to get to do it twice. I think there was 2 shows. I had to sing it twice, but anyways. I was really bummed.
Well, I'm glad to hear it's rescheduled and not fully canceled.
I really hope we get to do that show.
Nice.
But.
Well, the Foo Fighters music resonates with the military. That's one thing I didn't know, but it does. The military, for whatever reason,
it resonates with everyone.
Yeah, but I mean, for the military people to pick us out of all the band, they could have had any band that they wanted, and they called us. So,
that's another thing that I just find so amazing is that. The age range. I mean, you know, Stones, you see from the oldest to the youngest at a Stone show. And I think really one of the only other bands that I've seen that wide range of audience is Foo Fighters. And it's weird. You know, I mean, you know, obviously different genres of music aren't going to have that. But I mean, people who are into the music and liking it and know the words.
The funny thing is my kids are in their 20s, and they know Foo Fighters.
I was gonna say they've never heard of
them. No. And you know why they know Foo Fighters? They know Monkey Wrench.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they could probably play Monkey Wrench. Do you know why?
Sweet.
Because that was on Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So when my kids were 8, 9, and 10. They were listening to Monkey Wrench over. I mean, we were listening to Monkey Wrench over and over and over again. So it got burned in.
Song.
Oh, it's a great song. It's quite
High
possibly
energy.
the first Foo Fighters song I ever heard because my kids were playing it on Guitar Hero. But they started listening to the bands that were on those video games. So they got into Ozzy Osbourne. They listened to Twisted Sister. They listened to you guys.
I think I had that
Foo
same
Fighters.
Guitar Hero one. That whatever, if it was 2 or 3, I don't know. I had that one.
So it was a funny thing. So that might be part of why you'll get kind of a nice little generational thing. But yeah, when I did that deep dive, I was surprised lyrically how kind of cool and uplifting so many of the songs were. They really were. A lot of them are just written really anthemically.
Yeah.
They're big, huge power chords and big, huge build-ups, and then it would come back down. So there was, I mean, they write really good stuff.
It's
so
fun
it translates
music to play.
I could hear it going, man, this would be a blast to play.
It's fun. It's fun music to play. And then if you watch the video, the original video to My Hero, I mean, he's running in and like there's a house on fire and he's saving, he's running in and he's saving these people or kids or something. He's bringing the dog out. So just that alone is it's an uplifting thing, and I think people, they connect with that.
Can we talk a little bit about the band and personnel? You guys are the original members of this band.
That's it.
But you're the only original members of this band now.
Yes.
So how many members are in the band?
5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did you find players? How do you find players in general? If you have to make changes, what do you do? How does that get handled? Here we go. This might be a part 2.
It's so hard.
It's not the fun part of the business, but we've somehow over 6 years been able to maintain, I think, a quality where we've gotten through shows, but we're always sort of striving for that perfect mix of people. And not only you got to be a good musician, you got to be a cool guy. I mean,
Gotta be somebody you want to hang out with.
Got to play golf with them, right? If you want to play golf with a guy that's an asshole, and you're like, I'm not going to play golf with that guy anymore. So when we get together and rehearse,
on the same page.
They got to be buddies. They got to be cool. So, we've been through, I don't know, a lot of some people. But,
it's hard to find people. Most musicians have so many other projects.
Right.
You're not going to find some guy who's totally into playing Foo Fighters and that's his only thing. He's got 10 other things going on, or he or she, I should say. And it's difficult. But with any band, I think you're going to have that. But to be at this level, to be at another level, okay, if you're playing, the pub in Poway, or, some dive bar, that's whatever. People come and go, no big deal. But at this level, it becomes because you got a lot of people, like we've had a couple of cattle calls where you got guys showing up and we're at the rehearsal studio. Guys are coming in on a half hour, loop, and you've got guys that just want it so bad, but they suck. They want to be in a band. They want to be in a Foo Fighters, but they just want to be in a band. So to have to go that when you got to do that call, that's rough. But we haven't had to do that lately.
But here's the thing: if you're a professional musician living in LA and you do originals and you may be really good at what you do and you're putting albums out, you're not going to play in front of the crowds that we play in. And I'm not, boasting, but if you are a good tribute band and you do the right thing and pick up shows and the crowds that we play in front of, as an original artist in LA, your odds of doing that are so slim. So what we found is these guys that we can get are so good, and they realize they play a few shows with us, and we're like, man, this is really fun. And the money is there, and the money is there, and I sort of manage the money side of the business. I don't do this for the money. I've got a great job, but I'm respectful of the people that do it for money. So, we have a standard. We don't take crappy shows, and we get calls all the time. You play for this for $500, and no, we're not going to do it.
We've done. We've paid our dues in that department. Let's put it that way. We started out and we took just about anything that would come down, but we worked our way up to where we are now, and we love to play shows, and we want to give you a good quality show. And that's where we're at now. We're up to the level of, we're not trying to charge you a lot of money to come see us. We want you to come see us, but we want to give you a good show. And that we've had 2 new members. Well, one was a former member who came back and brought Guy with him, an awesome bass player. And we're back to it's fairly new. It's just, post-COVID. And it's up and running. It's good. And I think with a couple of good shows that are coming up right now. Next weekend we have a show in Apple Valley. I think by we're still just polishing it up a little bit, but by summer, end of May, when we start really firing on all cylinders, this thing's going to be just better than it ever was.
You mentioned Red Hot Chili Peppers, Led Zeppelin. So have you kind of become fans of some bands or some tributes, or has anything kind of caught your eye, or guys you like to see, or girls you like to see?
Yeah, we love a lot of tribute bands.
I love Van Halen. Those guys are.
Man, yeah.
I love Van Halen. I love Led Zeppelin. I love them all. I love DSP is one of my favorite. His voice. I mean, if you can sing like Steve Perry, you've got something, and that's not an easy thing to do. I can't do it.
Night after night.
Yeah, DSP.
They have a pretty full calendar. He's pulling that thing off regularly.
Yeah.
Way to go, Juan.
I saw Van Halen a long time ago, just by accident at House of Blues in San Diego. I was there. I think I was there to see Led Zeppelin. It was Led Zeppelin and Van Halen, long time ago.
Nice.
Gotta be 15 years ago, and just by chance, Van Halen obviously opened for the Led Zeppelin, and just blew my mind. I was so blown away. Ernie, I believe his name is, really nails Dave. Just came
Of course,
out.
there's the Atomic Punks. Those guys have been around
I don't think I've
forever.
ever seen them, but I've always heard they were
Yeah.
really good. But
Really
Ernie
good.
just blew me away. He was doing Dave so good. He had all the moves. He's got the funny little face, with his.
That's
the
got to be a
bullets.
blast to be David Lee Roth on stage.
Yeah, I
He is the ultimate frontman. Him and Freddie Mercury, but for two different reasons.
I agree.
David Lee Roth was the prototype
In my
of
mind,
what every rock frontman needed to be.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
he,
mean,
he kept it fun, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Back when I was like, tribute bands, never
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
do it, and I was a singer at the time. And then when I became like, I couldn't take my eyes off him. I was so entertained by Van Halen that night. And I actually told them that story at Mammoth Rocks last year.
Yeah, we
Or
played
the year before.
a show with Van Halen and an excellent.
I told
what was
him
that
that story.
Boston band we played with.
That was the real Boston.
Bostic. So
Bostics. Yeah,
Bostics.
Boston and Sticks. Yeah.
So the singer actually toured with Boston when
Right.
He was
Brad Delp
amazing.
went down. Yeah, and that guy's amazing. So yeah, we've met some great people out there.
Shared the stage with
Shared
musicians
stage
like that.
with great bands, and there's so many great people out there in the tribute scene. I mean, it's become way more than we ever thought it would.
Yeah,
be.
it's
I mean,
been
when
a
we
fun
started
ride.
this, I would have been happy with just playing some great gigs. Our goal was we want to play the Belly Up. We want to play House of Blues. Oh
Yeah.
my God! If we could ever play House of Blues, we've made it. And that's what it was, right? And
Yeah.
so I look back now and I just go, man, this thing's been
Still
kinda took off.
and we're having fun. We're not done yet. I mean, we got. I'm the oldest guy in the band, so I probably have a little more sense of urgency than anyone else.
39, you got a long way to go. 39.
Well, guys, I really appreciate this. I've had a great time. Really have enjoyed hearing about this band, getting to know you guys. I want to thank them both. Nikki Rich, Brett Wright. The band is Fooz Fighters. You'll find them at foozfighters.com. Facebook, it's Fooz Fighters Band. Instagram, Twitter, it's Fooz Fighters. Right? Check them out. They're fun on Instagram and Twitter, too. They put a lot of stuff out there. Check them out. If they're playing near you, definitely check them out. We really appreciate you guys checking us out. We hope you check us out again. I hope I say check out one more time. We'll
Thank
try
you
to
so
say it
much
as
for
as
having
possible.
us. You rock, dude.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Thanks, everybody, for watching the show. We'll see you again soon. It's the Ultimate Tribute Band Podcast. Follow us, like us, subscribe, all the good stuff. You'll find us everywhere. We'll talk to you soon. We will see you again next week. What we need you to do, subscribe to the channel, please, if you enjoyed the show. And please tell your friends to subscribe as well. Share the channel. Let people know about it. We look forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Roger. This is the Ultimate Tribute Band Podcast. We'll see you next week.